Alright guys, let me just start off by saying that I'm a huge fan of the Mario Sports spin-offs. I played nearly all there is to offer in the series, except for maybe Mario's Tennis for the Virtual Boy and the classic NES Open. While I love Superstar Baseball, Striker's Charge, and even Sports Mix's Volleyball mode, I had the most memories playing Power Tennis because tennis by itself is my go-to sport, and that the Wimbledon is my favorite thing to watch during the summer. As many of you already know, Mario Tennis Aces released a little over 2 weeks ago, so as someone who enjoys playing as much as watching, I was hyped to see changes in core mechanics, and was nearly shocked to find out that Nadal made his appearance in the commercial advertisement, which was, by the way, a great marketing strategy to incorporate on Nintendo's part. So, in this particular video, we're going to be taking a look at the Nintendo Switch's first ever Mario Sports title to see if it serves up to our expectations, or if it just falls short on the court's net. I want to address that this is the first Mario Tennis game in the wild to actually grab my attention. I mean, with what we received from Open and Ultra Trash a few years ago, you can probably understand why. Before we dive into the onion layering contents, let's talk about exteriors. Presentation serves this game well. It runs smoothly in its native resolution with little to no frame drops. Character models and their animations were reworked from the previous games to look polished and to serve more to their respective personalities. The environmental surroundings are also pleasing to the eye, each installing creative gimmicks that you eventually either love or hate. Heck, even my first impressions on the demo were actually really positive. Wow, what a beautiful opening title. Wow, what an incredible user interface. Wow, Mario Tennis Aces looks to be a great game. While I think the game's aesthetics are exceptional, especially for the theme of sports, the music on the other hand falls really short. I expected it to be on par with Power Tennis's soundtrack because of my good underlying first impressions I had, but nope. We get the same like 5 tracks, but most importantly this one. Da na 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 na. Seriously, this is all you hear when you enter the online tournament, and that's the biggest selling point for this game, the multiplayer. Oh, this makes me just want to slap myself after hearing this for a straight hour. Yes, the music is lackluster, but at least it doesn't take away the whole gaming experience once you're out there in the match, because you know, your mind is focused on putting them noobs rather than thinking about da na 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 na. No, I'm being completely serious. The core gameplay in this game is actually phenomenal, much more extremely refined and overall fun. I also feel the controls are also super responsive, and does a pretty good job explaining it under the how to play option. But instead of reading that for you guys, here's my take on explaining the core gameplay in a nutshell. So, here we go. Zone speed is a skill that allows you to slow down time and space so you can get receiving balls that are harder to reach. I use this one quite a lot for unexpected drop shots and lobs, or for when I need to think about my next move. Zone shots, however, are only something you can initiate when the previous shot is slow enough to punish. When activated, you are immediately put into first person, where you can properly aim for an area you think your opponent can't reach. It unleashes pretty fast, so if you're in the receiving end, be prepared to block it because its fast trajectory can potentially damage your racket, if you don't connect properly. Oh yeah, and there's that thing too. Rackets have damage meters now, and can eventually break. Trick shots are basically lunging 2.0 in this game, but like 10 times better. These shots can cover a decent amount of space on the court, so they should be your first thoughts before wasting energy using zone speed. And hey, another thing to talk about. Your energy is pretty important to keep track. Without any energy, you won't be able to perform all the things that I mentioned before. You want to make sure you're charging shots whenever you can. If you charge long enough, you'll get a max charge which significantly raises your gauge. Nice, right? Well, it's best when it's full because that's when you can release your special shot. Every character has a special shot he or she can perform, and it's the most devastating one because not only is it fast, but if it's not blocked correctly, your racket automatically breaks. And the last thing you want to happen is lose from something embarrassing like that. It's not a good time. You will feel stupid for letting your partner down when you play doubles. Regardless of any outcome, just remember that these techniques are there for you to create new opportunities and strategies when you're on the court, which in return creates this exciting idea of simple constant risk and reward. Should you be using a trick shot instead of a zone speed to get to the ball? Or should you let the special shot slide because you don't want to risk breaking your last racket and think it's best to save energy on a different play? Yep, this is a fighting game alright, a scary one too. However, if you play your cards right, it's satisfying seeing the results you wanted since the beginning. Victory. However, the excitement kinda diminishes once you start playing the weakest part of the game, the adventure mode. Oh boy, like I don't really know what to say much about it because it's literally so bare bones that it makes dry bones feel like it has an ounce of flesh. Like remember that one really cool animated cutscene everyone was hyping up on YouTube and Twitter? You know, with that thing about Luigi and the inspired looking racket that totally isn't ripped off from the gauntlet from the Infinity War, and the freaking Wario Bros suddenly becoming possessed by the racket's demon creature or something? Yeah. Well, what if I told you that was the pinnacle of the adventure? No, legit, I think that was the best part. Everything else was not that pleasant of an experience. After realizing Luigi was in bad hands with the quote-unquote Infinity Racket, Mario sets on an adventure across a world map, which is, by the way, probably smaller than his brother's Bulge, where he tackles just enough challenges to get strong enough to beat this internal demon after he loops around the whole island. And here's one of my biggest gripes on this. I legit could not tell when I was getting stronger as I was doing these missions. The RPG element that Aces implements just seems to be there as a display, kinda like those mannequins you see at your local malls. The clothes they wear may look good when you first see them, but once you try them on, you have second thoughts about them being so special. You also get these rackets along the way which are supposed to be stronger than the ones you received previously, but damn, you can't trade them, you can't ever alter them, so I don't understand why you would keep Mario's original racket if it's statistically weaker. Doesn't make sense to me. Legit dude, I'm so disappointed because I thought it was gonna feel like Mario Tennis Power Tour since you actually see skills progress in that game. And to add, the challenges involved mostly amount to the same fixated formula. Now don't get me wrong, most of the boss fights were really interesting, and I was super impressed by the idea of using trick shots to dodge enemy attacks. But everything is literally hitting panels, rally with an opponent, beat an opponent, and knock your enemies. Like, I get it if you do it for the first 2 worlds or something, but damn, for the whole game, you kinda just get bored. So with that, I kinda gave up on level diversity and instead focused on my interests towards the story progression. But guess what? Everything I stated earlier about the hyped opening scene amounts to absolutely nothing. Now, I'm not here to spoil the ending, but I'll just say there's really no reward from beating it. No extra levels, no cool skins, you can't play with any other character except Mario for whatever reason, there's just no incentive to get back there and explore. You beat the final boss, you watch the credits, and that's it. So, as someone who takes tennis competitively and appreciated Power Tour's story, I really came in with high hopes. But you know, in the end, not everyone will complain about this mode's content because, hey, at least it still exists. And as I mentioned earlier, no one buys this game for the campaign. It's honestly really all about that multiplayer. Yep, I saved the best mode for last because Mario Tennis isn't Mario Tennis without that multiplayer experience. I'm just gonna say this straight up. Online tournament is the way to go if you want to play this game seriously. And don't worry, if you're not a fan of the standard way of playing, you can also enroll in this simple version. Whether you win or lose from whatever round you're in, you'll receive points based on your match performance. Some categories are your total service aces and game points, and your max amount of energy stored. Oh, and you can also get some bonus points for winning too. In addition, players can check their rankings globally, nationally, or just between the people in their friends list. The more points you have, the higher you will rank, which is kinda not the best approach in my opinion. I think it would be better to base them off of win rate and tournament wins, because I don't like the fact that someone could be marked better than me just because they played more games, instead of comparing our match stats and seeing who's actually better on paper. But hey, you know what? I shouldn't be complaining. Being able to see Mario Tennis rankings has always been a dream of mine, so I'm just glad that I can find somebody to play at a much more serious level. So the fact that there are thousands of other players better than me just makes me want to work hella harder and play even more. However, it's sad to say that there is no matchups based off of rankings in these tournaments, so don't be shocked if you verse a complete beginner in the first round, and then a god tier player the second. And let me just add that these players are nothing like from the times when you tried out the global test tournament. It's been so hard for me to win tournaments lately because of my matchups between players like Sunseed and freaking Shiggy Mimo. Like legit, they are really good, and they've taught me some new strategies that I never knew even existed. But don't you worry, there will be times where you'll face opponents similar to your skill level. I'm serious, matches can even last up to 20 minutes, and they can be super scary as you play through endless deuces and nerve-wracking tiebreakers. Losing after all that time and effort really sucks, but bruh, if you win, I don't blame you for celebrating for 5 whole minutes. If tournaments aren't for you, free online play is still an option for both singles and doubles. However, I just have one complaint, especially if you want to play with friends online or even with them locally. The game settings just aren't that customizable in Aces. Like, okay, you can play a 2-game, 1-set match or a tiebreaker up to 7, but that's it. Seriously, I understand how well this works for tournaments because you really don't want to be spending like 2 League of Legends matches on your quarterfinal, But bruh, this should really be an option with your friends. There's no actual advanced settings that you can tweak like in the previous titles. I really wish the developers brought back those options because I love living by the professional tennis standards. You know, the classic 6-game, best of 5 set match, or even pro sets up to 8. I dig those. And it doesn't even end here. You can't even pick the courts. But no way, you can turn hazards on or off. Woo! Like, I don't get it, man, why? You have those options, but you don't have court select. Okay, you know what, I used to hate it at first, but after a while I did start to adapt to the idea of random courts, and I've even experimented it enough to be even better, especially when you have it set to random characters for every match. So yeah, I just played by the system. If it's already random, help it to be even more random. It's shockingly really fun. So yeah, I think that wraps up the multiplayer. Oh wait, I forgot about swing mode. Yeah, I kinda got bored of it after a while. The movement sucks, and Big Ball and Rally Challenge don't make it much better. As a matter of fact, it's even worse because of how slow the ball moves. They're just gimmicks you try once in a while with kinda half-assed controls. I mean, hey, it's better than the new play control for the Wii, but yeah, it's still half-assed. But at least it has a better replay value than the CPU tournament. That thing's garbage. So, to answer everyone's most popular question, yes, I think Mario Tennis Aces was a good buy. Sure, the adventure mode doesn't live up to my expectations, but it was a pretty good tutorial mode that gave me the gameplay foundation that I really needed in order to play online at a much more competitive level. Now, I don't think it's a game worth $60 because it doesn't have a whole lot of content, and the multiplayer doesn't help justify its price tag either. $40 seems to be a reasonable price, especially if you aren't that interested in the game of tennis. To end with numbers, I give Ace's game content a 6.5 out of 10, but a 9 out of 10 for the superb gameplay and great replay value on multiplayer. And I only gave it 1 point off because it has a very restrictive access to the match options. Therefore, Mario Tennis Aces gets an average score of 7.75, which makes it a decent game in my book. So with that being said, this concludes what I have to say all about Mario Tennis Aces. But before you go, let me just leave you with this. Remember that this is the first Mario Sports title on the Nintendo Switch. While this particular title may not have the best game content and equal enjoyment value all across the board, we'll definitely have future titles to look forward to, like golf, soccer, baseball, and maybe even for the first time, American football. Seriously, the closest thing we have right now is that one rugby dream event from Mario and Sonic at the Rio Olympic Games. Come on, make it happen, Nintendo. I don't care if it appeals to Americans, it's the only big major sport you haven't covered. Well, enough of rambling, that's enough for today's video. Thank you all for watching, and I hope to see you guys on the other side of the court sometime. Peace out! Hey there, I hope you enjoyed my first ever full game review on this channel. I apologize for uploading it like 2 weeks later than my first expected date, but I just couldn't anticipate how much time I'd be getting for production, as I'm currently taking summer classes at university, and also have been trying to prioritize exercise so I can stay fit and healthy. Regardless, I have many video ideas to share in the future, so don't forget to subscribe, follow me on Twitter, and join my Discord server if you want to stay up to date. And don't worry, the next video won't take this long to get out. I promise.